Hey everyone, Rich Munroe here with BNB Investing Group. Thanks so much for joining us on our weekly Facebook Live. As you guys know, BNB Investing Group helps short-term rental investors kind of navigate and explore the short-term rental model, whether you're doing acquisitions to buy properties, doing the master lease strategy, or if you're actually managing properties for other investors. And so BNB Investing Group also helps folks that want to get started and build a scalable business. And if you're one of those folks ready to kind of get started, feel free to reach out to me directly, and we can check in with you and see if this is a good fit for you or not. And so the best way to reach out to me is through Facebook Messenger. For those of you jumping on, please put a quick yes in the comments if you can hear me okay. I am super excited this week. We have my friend Kat here from Superhog. And we're going to talk all about kind of protecting and vetting our guests when we have guests come into our properties, and as well as the option to kind of have a damage waiver protection as well. And so, Kat, thanks so much for taking the time today. If you want to give us a brief background on you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me today, Rich. My overview, I mean, I've been in the short-term vacation rental industry for over a decade now. Where has the time gone? But just have, worked with guests, with hosts, and now, working in software, which is a really exciting and new challenge. I really have enjoyed my upcoming 1-year anniversary, my year with Superhog. I think it's, a really great tool and a very easy product. Pricing is very simple. It's kind of like a no-brainer to give, hosts a little safeguard and make sure that their properties and investments are going to be looked after.
Very cool, very cool. And I know for our business, obviously, we have a lot of our business that comes through Airbnb, but we also like exploring other platforms. And there's always the risk of, some of those platforms not really having the correct things in place to properly pull in the identification, and you potentially have fraud that happens in some cases. But I like the ability basically to test out different platforms and have my own vetting process that kind of double checks. Even our Airbnb guests, we kind of double check them as well. There's a lot of new people on Airbnb that don't have, positive reviews and are kind of brand new profiles. And so it's good to have that confidence and that ability to do further vetting.
Absolutely. I would definitely vouch for that. I think as a host myself, there have been guests that I have taken where maybe they were brand new to the platform, to the Airbnb platform, or maybe, they had no reviews, but had been a member since, 2016. And I'm wondering, why don't they have reviews? So, having that peace of mind of having your own system in place and vetting the guest yourself definitely, helps and gives you sort of ease. So definitely nice to have additional risk management in place, and just relying on the OTAs and online travel agencies like Airbnb, it's not always enough.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about, before we jump in, you're currently a Superhost on Airbnb as well. And so you have your own guests that you host. So you kind of know the ins and outs like we do in terms of what you go through as an experience, which is helpful for, this offering. So tell us a little bit about that. How'd you become hosting for short-term rentals?
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I bought our first home about 1.5 years ago in April of 2022. It's a nice, larger home than what we had before. We were living in a 700 square foot studio. Now we have a beautiful 4-bedroom home. But I live in California, and our mortgages are not, not cheap. So we decided that we would put our home on Airbnb, not only the home, but also a spare bedroom that we have kind of tucked away. So when we are home, we can still rent it out when we, feel the need. and we really kind of enjoyed doing it. It's helped us not only, you know, pay for some of the mortgage, but also kind of whenever we do go away, we find that we are able to kind of cover some of our travel expenses, whether it's flights, accommodation, or a nice dinner out. So yeah, but you know, in terms of the Superhost status, that was really exciting. I kind of shared it on my Instagram and on my Facebook. I was pretty proud about that because I wasn't even thinking about becoming, you know, super host, but it's definitely helped to get those bookings. We've even had repeat guests as well, people asking us whether they can stay with us again and whether we can open dates up for them to make their home available. So when that kind of starts to happen, it makes you feel really good, like you're doing something right.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. So let's jump right into it. Got a couple slides here.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I really love to talk about, you know, reducing risk, increasing revenue with your investments. That's really what Superhog is all about. We actually started off as an insurance company, and about 2 years into running Guard Hog, which is what we were originally known as, the founders realized very quickly that there was a real niche for actually screening, vetting guests, and reducing the amount of claims, reducing the amount of damage. And that's how Superhog was born. So we've been around since 2016. Originally, 2019 is when Superhog really came to fruition. And the whole idea is to vet your guests, make sure that they are who they say they are, make sure they're going to take good care of your home. And then if and when things do go wrong, because even with wonderful, lovely, caring guests, accidents can happen, you will have something in place to resolve those issues very quickly and be able to, you know, remedy any damages and move forward. So, you know, what is risk management in the first place? So risk management is really, you know, about having something in place for, like I said, when things go wrong, because inevitably they will. It really starts off with knowing your guests and knowing your market. So we at Superhog always say, you know, our hosts know their guests and market the best. We have a very of, you know, products that we can offer, but it is a customizable product. So you can pick and choose which parts of Superhog sound good to you and what makes sense for you and your business. Whether, you know, if you have a home in South Beach, Miami versus having a cottage somewhere in, you know, a Sequoia and Yosemite, you might want a different product because you're going to have two very different guests. So knowing your guest and market is step one of, you know, having a risk management system in place. Having the correct processes and systems in place to reduce risk, that's also another great tool to have and skill to have. So, you know, vetting your guests, making sure that you know how many guests are traveling, what their ages are, you know, collecting IDs if that's something that you're interested in, having guest sign agreement, making sure that you're covering all your bases, and having that system that will be a smooth process for both you and the guest. Having something in place when things go wrong. So obviously, you know, insurance does help a lot with any kind of damages, but I don't know if everyone knows this on the call, but of course, you know, insurance or standard homeowner insurance doesn't always cover property or content damage. So having something in place to cover those damages, which, like I said before, is inevitable with short-term rentals, helps you as well to kind of, you know, with out-of-pocket expenses. And having peace of mind that your investments are safe. Obviously, you know, the whole kind of idea of risk management is just knowing that your property is in good hands, that it's going to be taken care of, and that, of course, when things go wrong, you can fix them quickly and not have to miss out on revenue in the future. Do I really need it? Well, it's of course up to each and every guest and host. building trust with guests and neighbors and building management. We do have a lot of hosts who are required by their building management or the unit management to provide screening information about the guests. So a lot of our building or hosts who use us for buildings will need to provide copies of IDs, a full report on the guest. So if you are hoping to scale into, renting out units, then that might be something that you might need. Obviously, building trust with guests, letting them know that you have a system in place, that you vet your guests, that you want to make sure that the home is in the same wonderful condition as advertised online. Goes a really long way. And of course, your neighbors. So, if you are doing short-term rentals, of course, you want to make sure that your neighbors feel safe as well. It just creates trust and loyalty. Increasing your revenue and 5-star ratings across all channels. So, of course, if your home is well looked after with every guest, it's going to be in great condition. You're able to invest more into making it a home and a comfortable space. Maybe you can invest more into the technology, the ease, appliances, anything like that. Obviously, that all goes a really long way into bumping up your star ratings. See an increase in your bookings and improve guest quality. I actually spoke to a host of mine that I signed up a few months ago earlier this week, and she told me that she's seen a significant improvement in guest quality since starting to use Superhog. Simply just letting your guests know on your listing or your website that you have a screening tool in place greatly helps you. Not only does it let your good guests know that you screen and vet guests to make sure that your properties are going to be looked after, but you're also kind of diverting your potentially risky guests to look elsewhere. They don't even bother looking.
Yeah, for sure, Kat. I can totally vouch for that. I think on some of our luxury properties, for example, we have a minimum age requirement, in some cases as old as 30. And so, the fact that you have that on the listing, but then you let them know, well, we actually do guest verification right out of the gate. Those folks that are trying to do things that they shouldn't be or are underaged, it's going to deter them right away. And so you're going to kind of mitigate that risk right off the first tee. They're just not even going to jump in there because they see that information on your listing. So totally agree with that, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, that actually goes a really long way in helping you eliminate those guests. It's not worth their time to waste going through the whole process. I need to have the booking canceled later down the line. And of course, sleeping better at night. I mean, I love my sleep, and since having a risk system in place and using Superhog to screen my guests, it just gives me more peace of mind that when I go away and leave my home, and when I come back to it, it's still in the great condition that I left it. So it's really nice to know that I don't have to worry about who's staying in my home and whether they're going to take care of it. In terms of what we offer, so we try and keep it really simple. We have 4 products. 2 of them are guest screening. 2 of them are damage protection products. The screening is including the intelligent guest screening, which is a background check and a verification of the guest information. We check their email, telephone number. We can see really in-depth things like how long has the email address been in use for? Is it connected to any of their public accounts, like their LinkedIn account, Facebook, Amazon, Spotify? We can see if the phone number is a contracted phone number or a prepaid phone number. We can check their date of birth, address, collect their IP, and basically just do a much more thorough investigation into the information that they provide to make sure A, they exist, B, they are who they say they are, and C, that nothing on any public websites shows up as suspicious about that particular guest. The second level of screening is the ID checks. So ID checks, we do 2 things with that. We do a biometrics check. When the guest completes the ID check, they have to take a photo of themselves. So they take a selfie, and then they also take a photo of their driver's license or government issued ID, so that we can scan the biometrics of person in photo 1 and person in photo 2, match those. And then we also check their full name and date of birth against the information that they provided for the booking on whichever platform that was, whether Airbnb or your direct website.
So quick question there, Kat, on the IDs. So the upload function, or the sending a copy of the ID, in addition to doing the check for the picture, are you also confirming that it's in fact a valid ID? Are you doing that piece as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's actually a system that we're building right now. And I'm really hoping that by the end of Q4, by the end of this year, that will be ready. Right now, we're doing the biometrics check and the full name and date of birth match. And then I'm hoping that before 2024, we'll be able to also scan the ID and verify that there's been no tampering with the ID as well.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of those two are the screening products that we offer. The ID check is optional. So like I said earlier, when we started this call, that we kind of let you customize your Superhog package. The only product that is one that you would need to sign up for is the intelligent guest screening. So we can vet the guest and make sure they're low risk. But the other 3 products that we offer are optional, and you can pick and choose out of those 3 which ones you want to add onto your package. The damage waiver and deposit. So this is the 3rd product that we have. It is coverage for any smaller damages, anything that generally falls within the $0 to the $500 range, although that $500 limit is adjustable per property depending on your location, the size of the home, what seems right for you, and what feels good for you as well. The damage waiver works in the way that the guest will pay a $35 fee to Superhog, and that will cover the host and that reservation for up to $500 for any accidental damages. So whether the guest spills milk on the rug, or they knock over a lamp, or they ruin a set of towels, which is the claim that we see most often, we will pay you out. Superhog will pay you out of our pocket without having to contact the guest for additional funds. So it's just a $35 fee that they pay, and then everyone can sort of forget about it, relax, and have a great experience and journey, and not have to deal with the aftermath for any damages. If the guest instead decides to put down a deposit, that is of course a much more traditional route. So the guest would pay a $500 deposit to us. We would then refund it to them after they depart, as long as of course they didn't cause any damage. And we do all the card processing. We actually also have 3D authentication to catch any fraudulent or stolen credit card transactions as well. So that's why we kind of encourage you to collect waivers or deposits through us. And any kind of guest communication through the deposit system, we would handle for you. So that's a really great way for you to kind of avoid having to spend admin time going back and forth with the guest, if you decide to offer your guests deposits. If you only want to collect waivers, because again, those are just a cleaner, easier, much more pleasant way for everyone to handle smaller damages, we can actually remove the deposit option from the system altogether, so that you're only offering waivers, or vice versa, only deposits. And then finally, the damage protection plan. So this is our coverage from $500 up to $5 million. So waivers and deposits are $0 to $500. Damage protection plan is from $500 to $5 million for property, and up to $150,000 for content damage. Whether it is accidental, intentional, theft, we would be your primary for any claims, instead of you having to go through insurance, standard homeowner insurance, obviously worrying about premiums going up. Or you don't, if you're using us for Airbnb, for example, you can bypass air cover and come to us instead. our claims are generally paid out within 5 to 7 days, which is, just from what I've heard, significantly quicker than air cover. So it just makes your life a little bit more pleasant. And of course, on top of the, screening, the peace of mind, there are some added benefits to using a system like ours. First and foremost, we are integrated with a bunch of different PMS, property management software systems. So we're integrated with all the major ones, and I've just included a handful here to give you an idea, but Hostaway, Hostfully, Hospitable, Guesty Pro, OwnerRes, Lodgify, and there are literally dozens more. What that means is if you choose to integrate us with your PMS, we will automatically pull and feed information back and forth between the PMS and Superhog so that we can not only automatically screen your guests, but also send them reminders and nudges and just have a much smoother guest journey for you. Of course, we do data collection from OTA platforms, online travel agency platforms. So the wonderful thing about using Superhog is because we collect the guest's name, date of birth, address, email, and telephone number and share all that information with you. Obviously, you don't usually get that information from channels like Airbnb and VRBO because they want to keep the clients to themselves. But when a guest screens with us, we acquire all that data and we share it with you. We not only share it with you on your dashboard, but we also send you a spreadsheet at the end of each month so that if and when you decide to have your own direct website and you want to market to those guests, you'll have all of their information. We do a thorough screening of guests. So as I already touched on this before, but with Airbnb, VRBO, and especially some of the other less kind of known or used platforms, Booking.com, Expedia, Google Travel, there is inconsistent or non-existent screening of guests. A lot of platforms will tell you that they screen their guests, but what that means is that they send their guest a text message with a code and an email with a code. Now, if I am a guest who is hoping to book a space and misuse it because I want to throw a party or I'm going to use stolen credit card details, it's very easy for me to go on Gmail, create a new login, and go to Best Buy and buy a prepaid top-up phone. So by us doing a more thorough screening, seeing how long the email address has been in use for, making sure that it's linked to public accounts that are existing to that first and last name of the guest, and also seeing that the phone is a proper phone line and we can pick up what carrier uses it as well. We will provide you all of that information. So it's a much more deeper screening. Electronic guest agreement. So a lot of hosts like to use or like to have their guests sign guest agreements. We have one that a guest would be required to sign if you choose to use our $500 to $5 million coverage. And the great thing with our agreement is that it's amendable. If you feel like you want to add any additional rules, wording, stipulations, like, hey, if you're caught smoking in the house, you'll automatically get fined a $500 fee. We will take action against the guest if they are caught doing that and if it's in your agreement. Damage deposits and waivers are handled for you. So like I said earlier, we will do everything for you. You don't have to worry about taking payments, processing cars, processing refunds. That'll save you a lot of time and also the guest communication. And finally, 3D authentication on payment processing. So that's, again, a really great and important tool to have when sort of reaching out into taking bookings through Booking.com and direct bookings as well. And finally, I just wanted to let everyone who is joining and who's listening know that we will be offering a 60-day free screening trial for screening and ID checks. So if you decide to sign up with us, you will get 60 days for free. All you have to do is just drop me a line. Here is my email address. You can call or text me as well if you prefer, and just quote BNB60, and I will have your account set up to offer you the first 60 days for free. We have a 12-month agreement, so you would be signing up for the 12 months, but 2 of those would be completely complimentary for you.
That's awesome. So the first 60 days, you can kind of try it out and see without any obligation.
Absolutely. Yeah, you will be able to have the 60-day trial. If you feel like it's not the right tool for you, that's absolutely fine. But we're confident that, the product is simple, it's easy, it's affordable. We try and make it a no-brainer for anyone and everyone, no matter at which stage you are in your property management, path, to be able to join and use us.
Awesome. So I know we have a couple of questions in the comments. If anyone else has any questions, if you can do that now for us. I do actually have a few questions for Kat. I want to kind of walk through the logistics of this. So, if most of our clients and most of the folks that are doing multiple listings and running this like a business are going to be using a PMS or a channel manager. And so walk us through the logistics of, how this happens, right? Your guest, let's do the instant booking on Airbnb, for example. You get an instant booking on Airbnb. What happens next?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So as a host myself, I always say, if you can have instant booking on, please do. It absolutely helps with conversion. It helps with just making this process seamless. And of course, guests like myself, because I use Airbnb all the time as well, I will always search for homes that are instant book first and foremost. And if I can't find something that's really a good fit, then I'll, look at everything else. But the process is the same for instant book or not, where the guest will go on the platform, they will find the listing that they like, they will read the description of the listing, and there will be a very small, sweet message to say, please note, we use Superhog for our guest screening. Every guest is required to complete this once you've booked and before you check in. So straight away, you're giving your guests a heads up that they'll need to complete a screening, so it's not a surprise for them. At the same time, again, just a really great way to deter your bad guests from even trying to book with you. And then once the guest has actually gone ahead with the booking, they've paid for it, they are excited, they receive their confirmation from Airbnb, they will receive the message from your PMS, or from your scheduled messaging if you're not using PMS system, requesting them to complete the screening. It's just a simple link, a little note to say, thanks so much for booking. Here is your Superhog screening link. We look forward to welcoming you. Please complete this in the next, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever you want to say. If you have the PMS integration, like I mentioned earlier, the great thing with Superhog is that we will do the automated follow-up for you. So we will nudge your guests in case they have forgotten or, haven't had time to complete the screening when they first booked the space. So they will usually receive messages and reminders 1 day after, 3 days, 7 days after they've booked, and then 7 days, 3 days, and 1 day before they check in. The other awesome thing is that Superhog does have some nice stats. We have about a 94% completion rate for the screenings. So you will find that most of your guests will complete everything before they check in, and there are no issues. We also have a 98% approval rating. So once a guest has been screened, 98% of the time they are approved with no further action required. But of course, if we do pick up something about the guest, or we find something that we need to dive into a little bit deeper, for example, their address isn't matching, or their IP address is coming back to suggest that they live around the corner from your rental, then again, we have a really wonderful guest services team who will reach out to the guest and make sure that, we have the information that we need to approve their stay.
All right. And so it requires someone on your team to kind of review that information and then either approve it or decline it. If you decline it, are you reaching back out to the host to say, here's the situation, or kind of how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have where, like the rest of the world, is utilizing AI to scan information and make sure that everything looks good. We do have human eyes, which will look over additional documents if we do require the guest to send a proof of address, for example, or if we find someone with a sex offender record, we want to make sure we have human eyes to double check that that person is actually the person that comes up with that information. And in terms of the notification to hosts, we will always alert the host, no matter what the result of the screening has been. Obviously, like I said, 98% of the time you will get a notification by email to say, great news, so-and-so has been screened, they are approved, everything looks good. But if we do find information that is giving us a lot of red flags about that guest and we don't feel safe financially backing that reservation, then we will again always alert you by email. And of course, you will also be able to go onto your dashboard on Superhog and see a full report on the guest. Each guest comes with a full report, including their email, all of their information, IP information, telephone information, but also we will always list red flags in bullet points to show you if a guest, what sort of information we found about them that is giving us red flags.
Okay. As a host, am I also able to access a copy of their ID if something happens?
So our ID, the copies of IDs and selfies are encrypted and stored in our database for privacy and protection, but we can provide those on request. So if you ever need a copy of their driver's license, if you need it for the building management, if you need it for a police report, a chargeback claim, then yes, absolutely. All you have to do is just drop us a line and we'll provide that for you on request.
Got it. Are you obviously, you're checking for the fact that the selfie matches the picture on the ID. Are you also looking at the name on the profile that's been provided on the OTA compared to what's on the driver's license? And if there's a difference, kind of vetting that as well?
Yes, absolutely. So that will be flagged with you if that does happen. Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. Before I jump into the questions, the immediate question that I have is, how much does this service cost?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have tiered pricing. We have tiered pricing if you have between 0 and 30 listings, 30 and 100 and 100 and plus. So it depends how ambitious you are and how much you want to grow, of course. But the monthly fees for the screening, which is the email, date of birth, address, telephone collection, plus the ID check. So for that, it's going to be $9 per property per month. And that includes unlimited screening. You can use us for as many channels as you want. By channels, I mean as many, Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, your own website. You can list on as many platforms as you like, and the price stays the same. And then our damage protection, so damage waivers and deposits don't cost anything for our hosts. So we will process the damage waiver, which is $35 to the guest, or we will collect the deposit, which we refund back to them. We do take a 3% credit card transaction fee for damage deposits, not the waivers. But that's free for you to have. And then the financial coverage, the damage protection from 500 to 5 million is a per reservation fee of $13. So it's just invoiced to you at the end of the following month. If you've had a really busy month, you've had 10 bookings that month, we'll invoice you $130 for that previous month. If you had a quieter season and you've taken just one booking, you'll only pay $13 for that one booking. So, unlike insurance where you're paying a fixed rate each month, which tends to be quite high, our fees are based on how busy you are. And then, of course, as just from host to hosts, I would say that, it's totally normal to want to offset that cost onto your guests without having to pay for the Superhog expenses out of pocket. What generally we notice people doing is they will either increase their nightly rate, which I'm not a huge fan of, or they will just they will add an extra $13, $15, $20 onto their cleaning fee, and that will pretty much cover your Superhog expenses overall, because you'll be covering the $13 per booking fee and putting a little bit more towards that monthly $9 per property per month fee.
Okay, you had mentioned earlier as well that you can kind of customize your workflow. So, for example, if I know that a guest has previous positive reviews, I can not require, like I may choose to not even require the upload of the ID and a selfie, for example.
So if you are going to be signing up for a particular package with Superhog, you can build the package to however you want it to be. So if you want screening, ID check, and damage waivers only, we'll build that package for you that way, and then every one of your guests will be required to complete the same steps. So for now, we don't have a way to customize the package based on the guest or on the channel or platform, which is something that we'd love to do later down the line. But for now, everyone would be requested to complete the same fields. In saying that, if you have a guest who stays with you on a regular basis, you trust them, you don't want them to go through the screening process every time, or you have a friend or family who stays with you, they might still receive the automated request to complete the screening, but they don't have to complete it. So we're not going to cancel any reservations for you. It's not going to trigger any alarms or anything like that. Obviously, if you decide not to screen a particular guest, you can just tell them to ignore the Superhog request.
Okay, and my last question for now.
Sure.
So is there a time limit on when you can put in a claim for the damages? Like, are you requiring it within a certain time period of the guest checking out? What does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So for damage protection plan, the 5 to 5 million coverage, 500 to 5 million coverage, you would have 10 days to submit a claim or report a claim, I should say. And for the damage deposit and damage waiver, say, for example, if you have set your automatic deposit release to be 7 days after the guest departs, so we would automatically release it 7 days after they leave, you would then have up to 48 hours before the release to submit the claim or report the damage. So you would have 5 days after the guest checks out to report the damage.
And how robust or detailed are you requiring for underlying documentation? Are you looking for receipts and estimates and pictures, or kind of what's the general rule?
Yeah, I mean, we try and kind of make it as simple as, for example, air cover. So I've kind of done a dummy run through myself. Luckily, knock on wood, haven't had to do a claim yet. But basically, you would just go on the dashboard, go to the resolutions tab, and submit a claim. You will select which booking it was for, write a small description of what happened, and then any kind of evidence is always helpful. So photos are obviously the best way to show damage. And then, yes, exactly like you said, if you have someone who comes to fix something or replace it or do the carpet cleaning, or you buy new sheets from Target, you just send us the receipt and we pay you out on that.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, let's jump into the questions and the comments here. I'll just kind of run through them so that you can address them. This first one is saying he wants to have an understanding about the underwriting legal lease for Superhog. I'm not sure what that means, but maybe you do.
Is it for the financial coverage? Sorry, I'm trying to find where the.
Yeah, so it's the underwriting legal lease for Superhog. I was not able to get it. He's been looking for it for a long time, so I'm not sure what that's referencing.
Underwriting legal lease. So we are, I'm not sure if that's referring to maybe the damage protection plan. So we have our in-house insurance, which is Guardhog, and we are backed by RSA and Lloyd's of London. So we originally started off in the UK. We are a UK company, but our largest market is in the US. About 36% of our clients come from the US. So we cover all claims through the same process and the same insurance.
So I guess that leads into the second part of the question where he's asking
Mm-hmm.
about litigation. So you can handle litigation in the US then?
So we actually have a company address here in the US as well. So we can do litigation in the US because we have the Delaware office as well.
Gotcha. Okay. They wanted clarification on canceling after 60 days, or are you already in contract once you sign up for the 60-day trial?
Sure. So there would be, once you sign the agreement, you would be signing for 12 months with a 60-day break clause. So you would be able to cancel anytime within the 60 days without any penalty. Otherwise, after that 60 days is up, then you would be, run the course of time until the 12 months is up. If you do want to cancel, we have a cancellation fee. So there would just be a small fee depending on how many listings you have. But hopefully you'll fall in love with Superhog and want to stay with us.
But if you make your decision within the 60 days, there's no cancellation fee.
No cancellation fee. No.
Right. Okay. And then, so these are all great questions, by the way. So the next one is, does the 60-day trial offer have an expiration date? You know, if they started today, does it expire in 60 days? Or if they're not ready with their listing yet, should they wait to get set up on the trial?
Yeah, of course. So when we sign the agreement, you have a 3-month period from the time you sign to the time that you go live with however many properties you want to go live with. So if you were to sign it, say today, then your 60-day trial will start from the time that your listings go live.
So there's like a 90-day buffer, basically.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, cool. Now, this is also a good one. What if guests wants to check in the same day? And so obviously, if you have a last minute booking, which a lot of us in Atlanta do with shorter booking times, is there a sense of urgency in getting those responses reviewed and approved? Is it a 24/7 team coverage? If I get a booking at 11:30 and they're uploading their information, how timely is that process, right?
Absolutely. I think it's a great question. We do have a lot of hosts who take same-day bookings. They have instant book on, they take same-day bookings. And I think it's great. I do think it's really important to vet your last-minute booking guests because they tend to be a little more high risk, with fraudulent transactions and stolen credit card details. So you really want to, same day guests can also be wonderful. Maybe they can, someone canceled on them last minute, so we don't assume anything. But yeah, absolutely, we do everything automatically. So as soon as a booking comes through, the guest will receive the request, usually within a handful of minutes. They will go through the process of filling in all of their information, paying for the waiver or deposit. That process, the Superhog journey takes usually between 6 to 8 minutes. So it's really quick. And if you have fewer of the products or a smaller package that you put together through Superhog, obviously it takes quicker. And as soon as the information is submitted by the guest, we feed it through our system, do the background check, update the dashboard, and send you an email, usually within about 10 to 20 minutes of the guest completing the screening. So it is, you should have the results within 30 minutes of the guest booking from start to finish.
Okay. Let's see here. The last question is the 98% approval rate due to the fact that problem guests won't even try to book once they see Superhog is involved.
I do think that plays a huge part in letting guests know that you screen guests. And obviously, if I'm a good guest, I have no problem about completing a screening. If I have something to hide, if I want to use stolen credit card details, or I'm going to try and use a fake account, then obviously I'm going to look elsewhere. So I do think it plays a big role in deterring bad or suspicious guests from booking your space. At the same time, the majority of people who are booking your home genuinely just want to have a wonderful time, have a great, create great memories in your home and use it respectfully. So 98% of guests, the approval rating, I think it's because most people genuinely just want to, use the space and enjoy it for how it's meant to be used. But obviously, every now and again, you'll have a guest who has, a different idea in mind, and that's what we're here for.
All right, and then what is the 2%? What are some examples of the 2% of the time when you reject them?
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, if we see that their email address is a temporary email address, it's not connected to any accounts, we can't find it online, it hasn't been used for anything, and it was created in the last 30 days, for example, that would be a flag. If their telephone number is a prepaid phone number, that would be a flag. If their IP address, like I mentioned earlier, is showing that they actually are located around the corner, but they're telling you they're flying in from Canada, then that's a red flag. And we have an internal points-based system. So if a guest accumulates enough points, we will move them to the not approved status. But if they don't have enough points, and maybe they've picked up one or two, but they're not severe, and there's nothing that we think is, that we would want to know if we were the host ourselves, then we will approve them and everything looks good. And you will always, always, always have access to the host report, guest report, so you can see for yourself what we found about them, how, what sort of flags have been noted. And then, of course, it's fully your decision whether you want to take the booking or not. But we will always, to make your life easier, give you a status of approved or not approved for each and every guest, so you don't have to guess whether you should take them or not.
All right, awesome. And so just a thought entered my mind about that last minute check-in that we all get in the middle of the night. How are we protecting against the check-in information being sent to the guest until you actually approve? Is that a part of the process in the beginning when you onboard, so that you set that up?
Yes.
So until someone looks at it and or you confirm with the host if there's a question, those check-in instructions don't get sent until that occurs, correct?
So we don't actually have a trigger system in place unless you do an API connection with us, but that's kind of later down the road, or if you're managing a large number of properties. So for now, we would integrate our system with your software, or we would set up an automated message so that every time a new booking comes through, you can just go ahead and send them the request to complete the screening. And it's a link, and it can be sent to each and every one guest. The link doesn't change, so that whenever they book, no matter what time of day or night, it will just automatically be sent to them. Once they fill it out, we'll automatically check it using our AI. And then if we do need someone to look over it using human eyes, we'll do that as well. And we do have a 24-hour team to do that as well. Okay.
All right. We have another question. How would it work with guests we already have reservations for?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's actually really easy. If you would like us to go ahead and screen your booked and yet to check in guests, we can absolutely do that. We already have a template for you. So when you're going through your onboarding process or onboarding call with Superhog, we will always ask you, would you like us to send a sort of a mass request to your upcoming guests to complete the screening? And we can absolutely do that. That's a very common process for guests.
Very cool. Awesome. So Kat, this has been very informative for us. I really appreciate you taking the time today. I did put your email and the code that you'd like folks to send over in the comments below. We do have a lot of people that watch the replay. And so if you guys are interested in hearing more and getting more details from Kat, feel free to send her an email with the BNB 60 code. Other than that, I appreciate everybody jumping on this week with BNB Investing Group. And if you are an investor ready to start a scalable business and you are ready to take action, feel free to reach out to me directly to see how we might be able to help you with that process. You can send me a message on Facebook Messenger. But Kat, thank you so much again. I really appreciate this, and we'll hope to have you back sometime soon and go from there. But definitely have a lot of folks interested based on the comments, and we look forward to hearing some more testimonials on folks that are starting to use your platform from our group. So thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Rich. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Take care.